And as we lie on our backs and breathe with the hands on the belly, I'd like you to contemplate something. I'm going to read you something first. And this comes from the Yoga Sutras, which is a text that is often referred to in yoga. It's not the only text, but it's one that a lot of yoga concepts revolve around. And this one says, through sustained focus and meditation on our patterns, habits, and conditioning, we gain knowledge and understanding of our past and how we can change the patterns that aren't serving us to live more freely and fully. So I'd like in this practice for us to consider what that means. So as you're lying here, just for a moment, contemplate that things are changing all around us all the time. We can't hold anything still. Everything has this sense of movement. Patterns change, and we need to either learn how to flow with them, or we can end up getting stuck, like the sutra suggests. And sometimes if we get stuck, it's really hard for us to see that it's us or something that we need to change. So this process is a process of moving things that are in shadow, things that we might not see, into light where we can see them, where we can begin to address them. So I'm not sure about any of you, but being isolated has its challenges, and sometimes we fall into reaction mode or defense mode. And it's a really great time to be able to tune into what role am I playing in my own happiness. So we'll just stay here for another couple of breaths, perhaps lengthening them a little bit longer, inhales and exhales. And as we move through the practice, we'll just keep saying, checking in with, how am I moving? Is there anything that I'm doing by default? Is there something that I can do that's different, that I can change myself? Instead of getting frustrated because of my circumstances, can I go, oh, I understand why I'm doing that? And that will in turn lead to understanding why others do what they do. So now if you have a bolster underneath your knees, you're going to move it off to the side. Come and lay back onto your back. You may or may not need your pillow still, but we'll start here. And I'm going to invite you to bring both legs in towards your body. So you can bring your hands around your shins or underneath your knees if that feels better for your knees. And just pause for a moment, interlacing your hands if you can manage that, and offering a little bit of weight down through your shins, through the back of the pelvis to the floor. Still breathing, and just notice if that's changed anything about how you're breathing. Tuning into the breath is a really great way to notice when we fall into patterns of frustration or anger. The breath will always change. We'll always ask you to examine it and perhaps do something different. And through the breath, we can change the way we react or respond. So now let go of your right leg, keep your left leg in, and reach out through your right leg. You can bring your right leg all the way down to the ground, but it's reaching forward away from you as you draw your left leg in towards you. We want to balance that effort. How much am I reaching out? How much am I pulling in? Can I rest in the center of my pelvis rather than sink my low back into the floor? Can I find that balance between each leg? Is there something I can do differently to find that? One more breath here. And then at the end of the exhalation, release your left leg, stretch it down beside your right leg, and take your arms up overhead, reaching them away. Fingers and toes reach away from each other. Nice long full body stretch. And then we'll change to the other side. Bring your right leg in and keep your left leg out. Again, around your shin or underneath your knee, whatever works best for you. We want to do a practice that might challenge you. Find a balance between challenge and ease, but also to stay out of a range of motion, a movement that causes pain in any way. So again, finding the balance between what you're doing with your right leg and what you're doing with your left leg. One example that I'll use about not knowing things, not seeing what's in shadow, is technology. Oh my goodness. I say every day, it's going to be the death of me. Exhale and release your right leg down, stretch your arms up overhead. The number of times that I've heard people say, nope, that's not there. Nope, that's not there. Nope, I don't see it. That's not there. And then I hear, oh, there. Okay, yeah, I see it. Things are in shadow until they're not. And sometimes we react because we can't see it. We have to change the lens. Now bend both your legs, bring both feet to the floor and take your feet wide. I'm going to take arms out to the sides if you have the space, and start to drop your legs over towards the right, just about halfway, and then back up into the center and over to the left. So at first, what I'd like you to notice, and I've said this to many of you before, I'm looking for you to find a range of motion that still allows you to stay level on the back of your pelvis. So can you tell if when you switch your legs over to the right, does your right buttocks get heavier? Can you do this without letting it get heavy? I promise you we'll take it into a bigger movement, but for now, let's just go really softly and quietly, working with an internal and external rotation of the thigh bones in the hip sockets. Exploring the range of motion and discovering something new perhaps. Now let's begin to take it a little bit bigger so that you do start to lean over onto one hip, one buttocks, and notice how that affects your low back. We start to go into a little bit of a rotation in the low belly. We're still keeping the shoulder blades down for now. And just notice you can take this a little bit bigger. At what point does it get challenging to keep your shoulder blades down? Again, flowing with the breath is really a great idea. So when your legs go one way, you can either inhale or exhale. You always have choice. Can you tell, does it make a difference if you inhale your legs to the side or exhale them to the side? And the opposite breath up, back up into the center. I'm going to also invite you to bring your arms up like this in a little window. And as your legs go to one side, your shoulders and arms go to the other. So now we're creating a little bit more of rotation through the spine. This has become one of my favorite things to do, even in my own practice. Oh, hello, Sawyer. You going to join us today? He's been a little bit afraid of these screens, so he might not stay. Hi. Hi. So try, while you're doing this, to see if you can turn your head with your legs versus with your arms. That is something that you can change that maybe you didn't realize you were doing or could do something different. This full body rotation from feet to head. I even roll to the edges of my feet. We'll take one more on each side. Head rolling with the legs. And then come back into the center and bring your arms back down to your sides. Now drop both of your legs over towards the right. Let your whole body spiral, go to wherever they want to go. And then once you get into this position, listen, and if you can, watch carefully. You still have space between your feet. Lift up your right foot and place it on your left thigh like this. So it was here, it's lifting up to here. This is challenging because if you were in class with me, I'd walk around and I'd guide you. So you have to be me. So now we add this little bit of weight on the thigh to lengthen out and open up to the top of the front and top of the left thigh and hip. If it doesn't feel great in your knee or your hip, or it's not something you're able to do, just keep your leg down. If it feels like pain, definitely come off. We'll just take a couple of breaths here. If you're feeling a little bit of tension, not pain yet in the left knee, try lifting your left thigh up into your right ankle. And we'll take one more breath here. If your ankle is on your thigh, you're going to bring both up together, keeping your ankle on your thigh. If your ankle was not on your thigh, you're going to come back up into the center like this, and then cross. You probably have to move your left foot so it's more in the center of the mat. And we'll just do a little rock from side to side here. In this position, slightly different than what we just did. So we get a little bit more of a massage across the back of the pelvis. Again, pelvis more than low back. Then come back into the center and slide your right leg across until your knees are close together. To open up and stretch through the outer right hip and buttocks, start to let your legs drop over to the left just a little bit until you start to feel resistance. Resistance, I like to use the word resistance rather than a stretch. Feel when your body is saying, oh, wait, there's a little bit of a feeling of tension. Not like stress tension, but tension like you have stretched the muscle fibers. And they're saying, whoa, right there, slow down just a little bit. Take one more breath here. And then slowly come back up into the center. Uncross your legs, lift your right leg up and take your hands on the back of your thigh. If doing that makes you lift your head and shoulders off the floor, you can take your band or your strap or your scarf, whatever it is that you have, and bring it around the back of your leg. I kind of like this idea because then I can anchor my upper arms down and I can be open through the top of my chest. You can also have your leg further away from you. It doesn't have to be vertical, and you can also have a bend in your leg. Again, start to feel the resistance in the back of the leg. We're going to close the knee joint by bringing the heel down towards the sit bone and then lift it right back up again. So the strap or the hands where they are on your thigh is creating a wall for the thigh to keep it steady. So the thigh doesn't move. We're only moving from the knee to the foot. So tune in to see what's happening in your body. If you have your hands at the back of your thigh, can you feel how the muscle fibers are lengthening when you lift your foot up and shortening? You feel something moving in there, so can you visualize that? Begin to really connect with how your body moves. We can't change anything more permanently if we can't observe first and understand it. One of my teachers once said, insight cannot arise if we're busy doing something. So we want to be in a place of observation instead of trying to create more of a stretch. So last one, up, you're going to hold it wherever you get and press the back of your thigh into your hands, press your thigh or your hands into the back of your thigh. So we have this mutual relationship here. And reach out through your foot wherever you happen to be. It can be a bent leg. It can be a bent leg out here. It can be using the strap. Take one more breath here. Take your hands away from your leg, straighten it wherever it becomes straight, and then take your time lowering your leg down. This is a 2-for-1. We are strengthening and lengthening the psoas muscle at the same time. When you get to the floor, or where you think the floor is, just hover there for a moment, inviting the psoas to work just a little bit in this elongated position. Psoas is one of the main hip flexor muscles that starts along the lumbar spine, goes through the pelvis and attaches to the back of the inner upper thigh. Then land your leg, stretch your left leg beside it, and just notice what the whole right side feels like compared to the left side. And notice what you want to do. Notice if you're anxious to get moving. You know, why did you come to this practice? You know, is it that you wanted a workout or you wanted some peace? You know, you might have some expectations. I have my own agenda. Where do we meet? Can you be with what we're doing? Rebend your legs now to the floor. Take them wide again, and we'll do the windshield wipers again from side to side, really nice and gently. You can move as much of your legs and your body as you want. Intermingling movement with holding things a little bit more statically. Next time you bring your legs over to the left, we're going to leave them there. And this time, got to move Ganesh out of the way. If it's available to you, lift your left foot up and rest it on your right thigh. If that causes you pain or it just feels too distorted anywhere, keep down and we'll just stay here. If that doesn't feel great, you can always come out. You always have a choice. You know, what are your tendencies? To stay in something no matter how painful it is? I can guarantee you it's not going to serve you to do that. One of the actions I like to add in here is to lift my right thigh up into my left ankle and then reach out through my thigh bone right out through my right knee. Pressing the outer edge of my left foot into my thigh can help me roll my left shin forward to create more space, a feeling of space in my left knee. We'll take one more breath here. If your foot is on your leg, you're going to bring both up at the same time. If it's not, you're going to come back to the center and then lift your leg up. So now with your left ankle crossed, we're going to cross over side to side. Just a different position, focusing a little bit more on the rock towards the right to create, again, an opening and closing or lengthening and shortening of the muscle fibers in the left hip this time. Just a massage. Who doesn't love a massage? You can give yourself one like this, you'll save a lot of money. Okay, one more time. Come back into the middle, and now slide your left leg until your knees come close together. And then we're going to drop both legs over towards the right. Just again to where you go for a different feeling of resistance than the last pose. How far over you go depends on what you're wanting. You know, I can bring my foot all the way down to the ground. Now the stretch, the resistance is more in my low back and the side of my body than my hip. If I go right here, about halfway, I have a little bit more of the sensation in my outer hip. So you get to decide where is it that you want this feeling today. One more breath here. If you feel like staying longer at anything we do, please do. And then lift both back up. Requires a little bit of your abdominals, your oblique muscles and core muscles to bring the legs back up. And then lift your leg up, interlace your hands behind your leg, or use your strap here or your scarf, whatever you have. I like to anchor my arms here so that I don't have to work too hard. I want to work hard enough just in the right places. So I'm lowering my heel towards my sit bone and then lifting up, exploring the range of motion. What is my knee able to do right now? You know, if you have something going on, pain in one of your knees, you might go, oh, you know what? I didn't realize that before. I need to stop doing that thing because that's what causes me pain. We observe ourselves and we learn what we can change, that it's possible. If everything around us is always changing, we can also change the way we have a relationship with everything around us. So we're keeping the thigh steady, moving from the knee to the foot. It's your range of motion. Muscles of the back of the leg, the hamstrings lengthen and shorten. We'll do one more, and wherever it is you get to, you're going to pause there. Hold steady with your thigh and reach out through your foot. We're still going to keep the back of the pelvis anchored on the floor, so you may be way down here. You may also be with a bent knee. Reach out no matter where you happen to be, holding your thigh steady in place. And we'll take one more breath here. And then release. Take the strap away if you used a strap. Straighten your leg and take your time lowering it down. We have one more thing to do here, lying down. Take your time. When your leg gets close to the floor, just lengthen it here. Hold it steady from the hip joint. Lengthening through the hip flexors. And then slowly land it on the floor. Again, we'll do a comparison. So stretch out your right leg, close your eyes for a moment. Maybe bring your hands to your belly or out to your sides and just notice not just your legs, your hips, the whole sides, the sides of the body. Notice where your breath is too. Has your breath changed since you started? It's easy to go through life believing that we are perfect. And on some level we are, on the deepest level we are. And we sometimes, I know I can do this too, go around thinking everyone else is wrong. And I'm right. But everybody is seeing everything from their own perspective. So everybody is right. Bend your legs one at a time, feet to the floor. Take your time rolling over to one of your sides. You can shift your hips first, roll over, place your hands where you can press them into the floor, and then lift up. Then we'll come to hands and knees. And I know, Karen, for sure, you don't want to be on your hands and knees. So I'm going to suggest that you bring your chair in like this, and you can be here. So everything you do on hands and knees, you can do from the chair. If you need to have a blanket underneath your knees, you can pull the blanket underneath, pull it right here so that you've got it. And then set up your hands so that your hands are as wide as your shoulders. We get a nice wide base here. I'm on carpet, so it's a little bit more challenging to find a sense of being able to activate the hand to lift through the center of the palm and the fingers. So I have to work a little bit harder to press down through the bony parts. So the tips of my fingertips, the thumb pad, and the index finger base through the knuckles to create this sense of lift so that I don't just sink into my wrist and hurt my wrist. I'm also lining my shoulders up just slightly behind my wrists, so not directly down, because then I can access that sense of lifting a little bit more. Then once you have that, push down and forward with your hands to shift your hips back at first, and then we'll drop the tailbone down, so start rounding through your low back, mid back, then lastly upper back, and then your head drops. Pause here, Take a breath and enjoy that feeling of expanding through the back of the body. And again, adjust so that you are not in pain, that your breath is able to be fluid. And there's some ease to this. This is not meant to be challenging. Then start to turn your tailbone up. So lifting the tailbone up means you start to tip your pelvis forward, low back starts to arch, and as you start to move your awareness and move the body, start to move forward until your shoulders land just behind your wrists again. And then the last thing you lift is your head. We're not just going to throw the head back. We're going to keep length in the back of the neck without creasing the back of the neck. Look forward on the floor somewhere in front of maybe a foot in front of your hands. And then we start again. Push into your hands. Start to shift back. Drop your tailbone down. Round through your low back, mid back, upper back, then head. And go at your own pace. This is really important that you pay attention to what am I moving first? Because if there are areas of your body that are stuck or blocked, you won't ever change them. You won't ever access them if you always do the same thing. Sometimes I'll say, if you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. So we have to look and see, is there something I can change? And we resist change. Oh my goodness. We dig in our heels sometimes. No, someone else has to change, not me. I'm going to keep doing this because I've always done it this way. I believe that only hurts ourselves. We'll do one more. And we'll go back into child's pose. Again, you can have support underneath the front of your ankles. You can have a blanket behind your knees if you feel better that way. Karen, since you're using the chair, you can turn around and sit on the chair and bow forward. Anyone else can do that as well. I'm going to invite you to bring your legs a little bit closer together rather than wide so that we release a little bit more evenly through the low back and the back of the pelvis. You can stack your fists and send the breath into the back ribs. Your back ribs widen, elongate. And then bring your hands back down. Even though it's a gentle class, we still have to do some things for strength. So I'm going to ask you now to lay on your belly. Karen, if you're standing, you can hold on to the chair. You're going to do this standing, and I'll show you in a second. So you lay on your belly and tuck your toes under. Bring your forearms down like this. Actually, no. Point your toes back. We'll do a sphinx first. Forearms down, and you may need to slide them forward a little bit. Bow your head down and draw your belly up away from the floor. Create strength in your legs and then pull your forearms back to start to get your chest to go forward. We still want to have the belly lifted. If you're doing this with the chair, you can be on your forearms here. You're going to have to keep your toes tucked and lift. You can use the back of the chair. You don't have an open back like me. Something like this, lengthening. One more breath here in Sphinx pose. And then release that and bring your forearms together so that your hands come together and your elbows are as wide as your shoulders. Tuck your toes under. Again, you can do the same thing on the chair. You might need to put a blanket down if the chair is hard like mine. Tuck your toes under this time. Lift your hips up, keeping your knees down. And then if you feel like you want to move a little bit further here, belly is toned and lifted, you can lift your knees off the floor, press back through your heels. And we'll hold this plank for 3 breaths. If you need to come down before that, you can. And then slowly bring your knees back down. Make your way up. If you're kneeling, you're going to tuck your toes under and roll back onto your toes, spreading them, pausing for a moment to stretch out through the soles of the feet. We'll do a few things standing before I bring you back down. So I want to stretch out the soles of my feet. Again, it might feel a little bit painful. Go to where it's not. Maybe you lean a little bit further forward. Take your time. It might even be possible for you to sit up. If you do sit up, instead of sinking down, it's kind of like the same idea as the palms of the hands. We want to get a sense that you're lifting up. Drawing in through the transversus abdominis, one of the main core muscles. It's like a corset, draws in and lifts you up. Or you're here, still tucking and stretching through the soles of the feet. Then rock back or come back to table and start to walk back up to stand. Sorry if that's crackling. Bring your chair in now. You might not need the chair, but I'm going to bring the chair in and you can decide if you use it or not. I'm going to have the chair so just the back 2 feet are on the seat or on the mat, and the back of the chair is facing me. Step close to the chair. I'm about maybe 10 to 12 inches. My feet are 10 or 12 inches away from the feet of the chair. Then come up into Tadasana, nice tall stance, feeling the weight in your feet. Spreading your toes and paying attention to what is my default here. I feel like if more people addressed what's going on in their feet, they would have a lot more awareness to the rest of their body. We want to feel a sense of lifting through the soles of the feet like we did with the hands. So let's do this for a moment. Lift your toes away from the floor until you feel the base, the mound of your big toe drop down on both feet. And notice how there's a lift, an activated arch in your foot. We want to be able to keep that, so we have to keep the base of the big toe dropping down as you lower your toes to the floor. Sometimes it helps to spread your fingers. I don't know how. Once you've landed your toes on the floor, add an action of pushing your inner legs out towards your outer legs until you feel more weight land in your outer heels. So the big toe base and outer heels, and those actions will start to give you lift through the soles of the feet in 3 places. The arch across the toes, the transverse arch, the medial arch along the inner edge of the foot, and there's a lateral arch along the outer edge of the foot. And meanwhile, I've activated all the way up to my hips. I can feel these muscles right here, the gluteus muscles, engaging to stabilize me. So inhale, take your arms forward. If you have something going on with your shoulder, you can modify. Maybe you just want to bring your hands here or use one arm. Arms forward, start to lift them up as you sit back as if into imaginary chair. Without letting your knees come closer, keep the weight in your big toe base and outer heels. Pause for a breath. Then push down and stand up again, dropping your arms down by your sides. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, going up. Exhale, going down. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, arms go down. One more time, we'll go inhale here, pause for a moment. Then exhale and reach forward to the back of the chair. Shift your weight to your left foot and step your right foot back. Push onto the back of the chair and start to lower your right heel down and then lift up. We'll do this 3 more times. Moving through the back of the leg, the calf in particular. Press your heel down, lift up. One more time. And now see where you can position your back foot so you can keep your heel down. It probably will have to turn out a little bit. Keep that. Start to move your front leg towards straight by pushing into your left big toe base and pulling back through your outer left hip. Moving your front leg towards straight by lengthening through the leg rather than pushing the back of the knee back. As that action happens, you'll probably find your right hip travels forward a little bit more. Pause here for a breath. And then bend your front knee so it's right over your ankle. Push into the back of the chair. Push your feet away from each other, then lift your arms up like we did with the sitting pose. Keep pushing your feet away from each other to create a sense of stability. Draw in and up through the center of the body so we engage that corset-like muscle again. Then exhale, lean forward, come to the seat of the chair or the back of the chair. Maybe your chair is higher than mine. Come back through this pose that's called Parshvottanasana, pushing into the left big toe, taking the left hip back. Bending the front knee, stepping forward, positioning your foot again back into the seated pose, arms forward and up, or on the seat of the chair. And then arms come down, stand up again. Inhale, arms go up, hips go down. Let's do that 2 more times. Notice where your weight is in your feet. Does it always go just to default? We're so used to standing on our feet, we sometimes don't even give it a thought. Let's come into it again. We got to go through to the other side. Staying low, hold for a breath. Bring your hands to the back of the chair. Shift your weight to your right foot and step your left foot back. Lift up on your back heel. The toes stay down, the heel lifts up and back down. Lift and lower. And one more time. Press your left heel down, repositioning it so that the whole foot can land. So you still left foot. Then push the chair away, push both feet away from each other. So your front foot pushes forward, your back foot pushes back. Press into the left or the right big toe base and pull your outer hip back. It's like this pulls back this way. As this goes back, the left hip will go forward. Your leg does not have to straighten. It's not about that. It's more about feeling the resistance and listening to what your body is telling you. As much as possible, we don't want to be rounding through the spine. We want to stay lifted, so come a little bit higher if you need to. Feel where your hamstrings are going. If this is not enough, you can always come down. Hold on to the legs of the chair. There are ways to challenge you as well as to back off. Let's go back through, bend your front knee. Oh, we haven't done this yet. Inhale, lift up to warrior 1. Again, arms here, hands on your waist. I can't see you, so you can choose things that maybe you haven't done before. Try something different. Then exhale, reach for the chair. Slowly move your right hip back away from your right big toe base. Bend your front knee again. Stay low and step forward into this chair pose. Then inhale and stand up. Bring your hands down in front of your heart. Then we'll turn the chair around. I'm going to put all of the feet on my mat this time. It's not going to slide here so much because I am on carpet. Hopefully this is okay and not crackly on me. Now take your right foot. Better go this way. Take your right foot and slide it underneath the chair so that your toes are a little bit past the feet. So I've got maybe the ball of my foot in line with the front edge of the chair legs. Back foot is going to be back. And same thing that we're going to do as last time. Push into the right big toe base, pull back in the outer hip. Start to lean forward. You can come and reach to the back of the chair, adjust where your chair is if you need to. And then if there's room for you to go a little bit further, you're going to come down to the seat of the chair. Pause here again, pressing into the right big toe, right outer hip comes back. spine goes long, so I'm using my hands on the seat to kind of pull this way. Chair, I'm pulling this way, so I can use that as leverage to pull my chest this way. Then keep your front leg where it is, but turn your back foot and whole leg so now your toes faced to the side. Adjust so that your right hand is in the seat of the chair, right in the center. And notice if your hip has swung way out to the side. Bring it back in, turning your pelvis enough to still allow your knee to face forward in the same direction as your foot. Bring your left hand to your waist. Press down into the seat of the chair. Find that same action of lengthening through the spine. Once you have that, to turn your body, not so much your legs. I don't want to swing my hips around. I want to turn around my rib cage towards the left. I want to move my right chest away from my right arm, something I was doing in Monday's class if you did that. If you feel you are in line, you can take your left arm and stretch it away from the right arm. If your arm starts to distort and go back here, bring it back to your waist. Can you tell if that's what you're doing with your arm? We don't want to lead the pose from the arm. We want to turn the body from the center. The arm is the last thing. One last breath here. Turn and come back down. Turn on your back foot. Bend your front knee and work it right up to the edge so that your shin is vertical and your knee is right over your ankle. Push your feet away from each other. And again, we're coming up into warrior one. So now the arms come up here or waist. Lots of options for you. One long, slow, smooth breath in and exhale. Bring your hands back down. Now keep your left foot where it is. Step your right foot back. Similar to what I was inviting Karen to do at the beginning. This is now a plank pose. You're holding on to the seat of the chair. Work your hands towards the outside if you can. If you can tuck your fingers underneath the seat of the chair, even better. We don't want to drop the hips like this and really hinge in the low back. So I'm going to ask you to lift the front of the thighs up, lift your belly up, and lengthen your tailbone towards your heels like we were doing in the cat-cow version earlier on. We were doing tailbone, low back, mid back. So instead, we're going to just do the tailbone part and stay here for another breath. At the end of that breath, bend your knees, bring your heels back down, step wide on your mat. Bend your knees forward. Big toe base, outer heel is where your weight is. Shift back, lengthen the spine. One breath, 2, and 3. And then pull yourself back up. Last side, step into the center. This time bring your left foot underneath the chair. If you figured out the distance, it's different than what I was telling you, you can change that up on this side. I'm going to bring my foot underneath the chair. The ball of my foot is kind of in line with the front legs. Back leg is going to be positioned where I'm going to have stability in it. Big toe base and outer heel. And I sound like a broken record, but those are really the most important parts. They really give you the stability to lift the arches. Something's going on outside. Okay, so now we do the same thing. Press into the left big toe base, pull your left outer hip back. It allows your right hip to come forward, and then you start to elongate. Push your feet away from each other. One pushes forward, one pushes back. Is that an action that you've been able to connect with before? Hands to the back of the chair. If it's not, see, is there some piece that you're missing, that you're not quite getting? And can you invite your body to find that action? Oh, that's what it means. If possible, hands to the seat of the chair. You might do this whole thing with your hand on the back of the chair. Pause here, take another breath. Use the chair to help you. I'm pulling the chair towards me in order to lengthen through the front of my body. The spine goes longer. Then start to shift. Bring your left hand either to the center of the chair or high. Bring your right hand on your waist. Turn your entire right leg until your foot turns out to the side. We're going to allow the pelvis, so just for a moment, come up. Once you've aligned your feet this way, heel lines up somewhere near the back of the arch of the right foot or the heel. And we're not trying to square the hips to the side because we really don't want this front knee to be rotated in. So I'm going to let my pelvis turn. This all has to do with something called the angle of anteversion, of how your thigh bones join your pelvis. So we turn the pelvis in order to align the front knee, so we don't twist it. Then we say, can we turn everything above? Remember the rotating we did at the beginning. I don't want to turn my leg. I want to keep that there and turn my ribs towards the right. So coming into it just a slightly different way, I'm going to push my hips this way towards the right and lean over and bring my hand either to the seat of the chair or the back of the chair. I really want this to be in the light, this action of not twisting the leg. Then I'm really doing a beautiful hip opener, and I'm allowing my body to respond. Rib cage rolls back. If you feel you've got a beautiful diagonal line or a line across the center of the body, take your right arm up. Push into the outer back heel. Push your feet away from each other. Stay for 1, 2, and 3 breaths. Turn down to the seat of the chair. Turn on your back foot. Step back one more time in this beautiful plank pose. Press back through your heels. Lift the fronts of your thighs up. Lift the pelvis up. And then draw your tailbone towards your heels. Press into your hands and open up between your shoulder blades for 1 breath. 2 breaths. And 3 breaths. Bend your knees, push into the chair, shift back, take your feet wide again. Hips go back, body's long. So this is kind of a nice hybrid between a downward dog and a standing forward bend. So I get to create length in the spine, not compromising the shoulders. If you want to move your chair out of the way and either do a standing forward bend or a downward dog, by all means, listen to what you need. We're lengthening from the armpit back and from the armpits forward. 2 more breaths here. Good timing. And we'll finish off by lifting up. We'll all do a seated child's pose. So you can keep your chair wherever it is. Sit on the front edge. Spine lifted first. I'm going to take my feet wide like this, my legs wide, so I have a little bit more space. And I'm going to lift up through my lower belly, kind of like what we were doing with the plank pose. We brought the belly in and lifted it up to create fullness in the back of the body. Then start to lean forward, hinging at your hip creases. Come forward, front of the body stays long. If you get here and you start to round, stop here. We want to change the patterns so that we can open up and feel something new and different. We have to recognize the patterns though. Am I goal-oriented here? Do I think I need to be somewhere in this pose as opposed to being right where I need to be? So you may be here, you may be here, you may be reaching between. In all cases, wherever you happen to be, just for the next few breaths, do that same action of rolling and dropping your tailbone down. So it's this action. Instead of this, it's moving this down. With that effort, you create more tone in your abdomen, more tone in your belly. We breathe through the back ribs, widening, lengthening. Trying to bring a little bit more sense of quiet to the nervous system. Stay for a little bit longer if you feel like you want to be here, especially if it feels great on your low back. And then when you're ready, you can make your way back up to sit. And I'll give you a choice. You can stay sitting in your chair. If you have a couch nearby, lay on your couch. I've got a hard chair, as I've said, so this is a great idea to put the blanket down there. I can bring in my bolster I made here. Legs up on the chair is a great way to finish the practice. So I encourage you to find where you need to be comfortable. If you're on a bolster or a pretend bolster, it's actually a bolster. It feels good. My pelvis is elevated. I can have support under my head if I need it. Find symmetry in the body, whatever that means for you. Hi, Sawyer. You finished barking at everything in the neighborhood? And then close your eyes. Tune back into the breath from a place of stillness this time. Allowing the body to breathe. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Just wait a few minutes. Unhinge your jaw. Let your eyes sink back away from your closed eyelids. Allow energy to just settle in the body. There's always a sense of settling, but I always feel in Shavasana a sense of expansion too. So what would you like to invite? What would you like to be open to experiencing, receiving from your practice today? Hear the sound of my voice. And even though it's time from the class perspective to be coming out of Shavasana, it doesn't mean you have to. If you are comfortable and want to stay where you are in the comfort of your own home, just stay right where you are. Stay for as long as it works for you. We finished just in time. Everything's always in a state of change. If you're okay to start to come up, then make your way over to your side. And then come back up to sit. If you're still lying down, just bring an awareness to the center of your chest, to your heart space. If you're sitting, feel free to bring your hands together in prayer. The key to making changes that work is to accept the necessity of change as part of life. You are not responsible for the programming you picked up in childhood. However, as an adult, you are 100% responsible for addressing it. With your palms together in front of your heart and awareness at the heart center, bow and offer yourself love and kindness. Change takes time. Love yourself for exactly as you are, as you navigate the process of change. Namaste.